Okay, welcome everybody to our Lunch and Learn. Today is Tuesday, May 25th, and we are here with Tom Paolella. Tom had done he was speaking at the PERC breakfast meeting a couple of months ago, and he talked about his how he helps people in purchasing cars. And it was such a big hit, we ran out of time with questions, so we thought it would be a great lunch and learn to have, so we can zero in on what you really want to know about this. And Tom, today's topic, car buying secrets revealed. I love your titles. They're always very intriguing.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm a newer member to the chamber, I guess about 6 months old now. But I'm really happy to be here. This is my career, this is my company, but it's also a huge passion of mine. So hopefully you walk away with some free tidbits today. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions at the end, because I know during the PERC call, I think we got cut out and there were a bunch of people that still had questions. So let me share my screen if everybody can see it.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to actually start off with a little video just to kind of set the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's only going to be the first 2 minutes. Hey, what's up,
guys? I don't hear audio. Oh, you didn't play yet. No, we don't hear audio, Tom. If you go in your audio settings in the lower left-hand corner.
You can't hear the audio?
No, we don't hear audio. Select a microphone. You know where your mute button is in the lower left-hand corner?
Actually, I don't know that you're going to be selecting the microphone, but when you share the screen, there's a toggle. There's a little checkbox that says share computer audio or something to that effect.
I thought it was in the audio. Okay.
You might have to stop sharing and then reshare, and you'll see that toggle.
Okay, let me try that.
Good thing we have Jim on the call. Yes, you got to share your computer audio. I thought that's where
here we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Wow.
We learn something new every day, right?
All right, now you should be able to hear this.
I got that right?
Yeah, that was great, Jim. Thank you. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Time to go fishing.
Good afternoon. Hi. I'm Alex. I'm one of the sales executives here. Well, welcome. How can I help? What kind of car are you looking for today?
This is exactly the car I'm looking for.
Really?
An up.
VW up, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good little car. What kind of price range are you hoping to spend with us?
Well, no more than 10.
No more than 10?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got something a little bit more expensive.
Okay.
Got a Golf R here.
Oh, no.
A little bit bigger, more powerful.
Yeah, no.
And you're after a particular colour?
Red, quite like red.
Yeah, red?
Yeah.
Little industry secret here. Red cars, 104 times more likely to be crashed. Blue cars,
why is that a secret?
107%. I haven't finished. 107% less likely to crash. You look familiar.
Oh,
Have
really?
I seen you in the gym? If you love your wife, if you love your daughter, what's her name? Sally? Good. I'm guessing it's Sally.
No.
You're going to want to overtake quickly, okay?
Right.
Car like this. Done. Let me just show you one more thing, if I may. Boot space.
Yeah.
A lot of boot space.
Okay.
Sally's got friends. What do 4-year-olds like to do? They like to play in the boot.
Yeah. I'm not going to put my daughter
brilliant.
in the boot.
If you don't want to do it, it's at least nice to know that you can. Little Sally, Timmy, and Danny, Donnie, whoever, okay, she's got a lot of friends. She's a popular girl. Playing football in the road, they can hear this coming.
Right.
It's
I
safe.
hate this guy.
Girls, especially 4 years old, their hearing is exactly 107.5% worse than a 5-year-old boy's, okay?
I don't think that's true.
It's true.
It's going to be a bit too much for me to handle. I just got with a Prius, and that was...
Right, so I wanted to start off with something a little more lighthearted. So even though that's a UK version, so pretty much everybody has purchased a car over the course of their life, right? unless you've lived in Manhattan for probably 30 years, you've had that experience or a similar experience with a salesperson. I'm not saying that they're all bad. I've been very fortunate over the last 10 years with this business to actually weed out the bad ones. But the reality is there are still a lot of really terrible car dealers and, more importantly, car salespeople out there. They will say and do anything they need to do to get you into a car. They are not there to listen to you. They are not there to worry about your finances or your budget. They're there to put you in a car and have you drive off that day. And if they don't achieve that, then that's considered a failure. So I want to just give you a little tiny background about who I am and why I'm qualified to even do this lunch and learn, and then we can move on from there. So I started this business in 2012. I am your advocate when you're ready to buy a car. My team and I, we have over 30 years of experience. We are working solely on your behalf. We don't take a dollar from the dealership. When I started this business, I based it in the foundation of, let me take a look what others are doing across the country. There's only a handful of people that were doing this at the time. Many of them, they're called car brokers, and you'll hear that phrase. The difference between myself and a car broker is that a car broker gets paid by not only their client, but also by the dealership. Which to me, when I sat down, it sounded kind of shady that, so my clients were going to pay me, and then a dealership was going to repay me to use them to buy a car. So I'm a pretty morally sound guy, but if I'm being lazy one day, how do I know I'm not going to use a dealership that's going to give me the most money just to use them? So I set the playing field that, my loyalty is always on the side of my clients. And I work with whatever dealer is, number one, going to give me the best price, and number two, going to treat my clients with, the respect that they deserve. So some of you may have seen this video. I want to share this. This just kind of pretty much sums up in a nutshell who I am and what this business is about.
I heard way too many harrowing stories from family, friends, and coworkers about just miserable car buying experiences, and it's not always at the hand of the dealerships. So I started this as a side business a few years ago, thinking it was just going to be a local tri-state area, New York, New Jersey thing, but it's really evolved to a full service car negotiating, car locating business. I'm now up to 29 different states and over 170 clients nationwide, and people hire me who don't want to be bothered with the hassle of the internet research and going to the dealership. I set up all the test drives. I negotiate the price. In fact, I guarantee that it's the lowest price, or I will give them their money back. What really sets me apart is that you're getting me. I have over 15 years negotiating cars for friends and family. I turn that love and passion of cars from a small child into now knowing how dealerships work inside and out. I have nationwide connection of dealerships all over the country in different states, all makes and models. I've had Porsche clients all the way down to a used Honda Civic for a high school student, and all of my clients pay the same rate. And the testimonials speak for themselves.
I went to dealership, test drove a car that I wanted to see, and we're hooked right out. He dealt with all the negotiations, all that kind of nonsense that really I don't like doing.
So he took all the work out of it, really.
Use Tom. His service pays for himself within minutes of you driving off the lot, which I just did with my brand new Audi Q7.
And he finds deals that literally no one else can find.
And, thank you, Tom, from Car Concierge Plus.
Because really, he was a huge help in helping me get my car.
He's an amazing sales representative.
So thanks, Tom. You're the best. Highly recommend.
So that is kind of, hey, Jim, how do I make this? Here we go. Everyone can still see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Let's do. Bear with me one sec. Okay, so again, I don't want to make this all about me, but I just want to kind of give you some more background. So that video was done complimentary by a client of mine several years ago. So since then, those few hundred clients are up past 1,000 clients. That we've had 44 states that we've had clients in. So again, this is not just the New Jersey, New York, local tri-state area. If you know anyone across the country, we've done Alaska, Hawaii, tons of folks in Florida and on the West Coast. The one bullet that I'm super, super proud of is the fourth one. So 96% of my clients are repeat customers. The other 4% I'm still working on, but that's a pretty telling stat that once people use this company, they come back again and again. I've had one family, they're kind of up on the leaderboard. So they've used our service 14 times within the same household, believe it or not. Husband, wife, 3 kids, grandma and grandpa as well. The minimum budget I deal with is $5,000. So this is not some elite kind of snobby bougie company. I do a lot of first-time drivers, 16-year-olds that are in high school getting their license for the first time. I do a lot of senior citizens who either want to downsize the current car they're in or just get something that they can drive to the grocery store, to church, or wherever. I do quite a few high-end cars as well. $500,000 has been the max so far. We also do classic cars. A few of my doctors from Riverview, they're big classic car nuts, so they will have me scour the country and find them barn finds and things like that. There's over 2,000 dealers so far in our network, and that's growing pretty much on a daily basis. And then the other stat, which I couldn't when I added it all up, so we're approaching now, that's even outdated, about $5 million in savings across the 1,000 clients. So I'm not going to, last time I went through this, but I do want to pause instead of holding questions at the end. So, but before I move into the kind of car buying secrets revealed, does anybody have any initial questions just about the business itself? If not, we can hold them till the end.
I don't see anybody. Oh,
all right.
So, hello, this is Chrisanne. This is Chrisanne. I have a quick question. Hi there, yes. Tom. Tom, why is it that your popularity, because of what you do, has arisen so much? And when you had the intro with the video, there is such a bad reputation among people that are trying to buy cars and sell cars when it's such a necessity. Now, I think of, big ticket items are houses and cars, real estate and mobility. But what is it that makes that industry so checkered by these individuals? Can you try to give a little background on that?
Sure.
It's always perplexing because they'd rather go to the dentist than go buy a car. And nobody wants to go to the dentist either, but we have to. So maybe you could just explain a little about that. That just confuses us.
Yeah, so the car business itself has always had kind of a sleazy kind of connotation around it, right? It really started back, I mean, it was a little more straightforward in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. You would save up, you would meet your car salesperson. They wanted to know your kid's name, what the name of the Little League team was. They took, the time to tell you about all the features and this will be safe on the road and what was, new to the car back then in terms of whether it was air conditioning for the first time or anti-lock brakes. And most of the time, I mean, I know my family, you developed a relationship with your salesman back then. There were no really women doing it like there are now, and that was a relationship that would last 20, 30 years, right? Where you would go back to the same gentleman. Nobody was hopping, from dealership to dealership, and you would establish a relationship and you would buy your first Ford coming back from the Army. And then you would have, a wife and you would buy then your first kind of family car or couple car. Then you would have some kids in the mix and you would buy, a car that could accommodate. It was a very relationship-driven business for the dealerships that set it up right. For the dealerships that did not, it was a quick, easy way to make a buck and swindle people out of their money just to push them into something they maybe didn't need. I mean, unfortunately, that experience has translated now 60, 70 years to present day, where you have the dealerships that have adjusted and have changed that model. And now they realize that they're not selling cars, right? They're earning your business. That it is they might as well be the concierge at a hotel, front desk, where the car is going to sell itself. You need a car, like you said, it's a necessity. You're going to buy a car, but you now have the differentiation is you probably have 5 Honda dealers within 30 miles of where you live. And you have the added benefit of the internet and the World Wide Web now, which didn't exist back then. Back then, you were going to rely on newspaper ads and, when commercials became popular and things like that. But there are many, many car companies and many dealerships and many GMs that have not changed that mentality of thinking. It's a very, it's us versus them. I've been invited to sit in on some of these Saturday morning sales meetings, which still exist. And if I told you what I heard and the way they spoke about customers and women shoppers, and it would make you throw up a little bit. Honestly, I felt uncomfortable being in that environment as a guest, never mind if that was my chosen place of employment. So I don't want to bash all dealers, because for every, one bad one, there's 10 good ones out there. And that's part of my service as well, is that I have my list of it's a running list. I have about 112 dealers across the country that I would never, ever use, no matter what the price. And I've had to unfortunately learn that through getting burned or having bad experiences. But for me, Chrisanne, this is not just getting you the lowest price and saving money. That's half of it, right? The other half is how you're treated when you walk in the door to go pick up your car.
Well, I certainly appreciate the response, and I can understand where there's two different, I want to say, perspectives on it, and that's in any business. But it seems that car buying has had a more darker type of connotation associated with it that has been hard to break. But one point you make, Tom, that's important: the arrival of the internet. People they don't need to be as mobile anymore. But if you're looking to garner trust and you're changing people's lifestyles with the kind of car they buy, but you're also gaining their trust because it's such a big ticket item. So it becomes a financial trust as well. So I can understand why you have increased your business appreciably. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, of course. And it is, this should not be, people actually get anxiety over having to buy a car. This should be a really fun, happy, awesome day, right? Everybody works so hard and they save, and they either get to get, a car that suits their needs, or in many instances, they get the car of their dreams they always wanted. And that day, instead of being met with, jubilation and glee and being excited to go get it, most of the time people have a knot in their stomach because they don't want to be taken advantage of. So the internet obviously was, a leveling playing field kind of thing. And then the addition of, I don't call myself a car broker, but car brokers or car agencies or car experts, whatever you want to call them. That's just, now you're walking in with someone that in most instances, I know more than any salesperson at that dealership. And that makes them very afraid, which it should, because now the playing field is completely leveled, and you're armed with not only your own research, but my knowledge. And together, we're not going to get taken advantage of.
And Tom, I see that you mentioned 112 dealers across the country that you wouldn't use, but there is 2,000 plus dealers that you would use. So that's 5% out of but 95% of the dealerships that you have a good relationship with that you will use. So that's good news.
It's encouraging, right? That's
yeah.
a good point. Thanks for, it's not, you can have your guard up, but to defend some of the dealerships, the good ones, right? The 2,000 plus, they also have to deal with a lot of nasty customers. I mean, just think of it, right? I go into, I'll go into Whole Foods or Wegmans or ShopRite, and I'll stand in line, and I am just, again, appalled at the human race sometimes, the way that the cashiers are spoken to over a $1.98 box of granola brand. Now imagine that same person with a $40,000 check in their pocket. They think they own the world, and they're really condescending and nasty to a lot of these salespeople. And, unfortunately, the salespeople have to put a grin on and bear it. But, being a car salesperson nowadays is not as glamorous as it used to be. It used to be, a relationship building business. You could provide for your family really well. Now it's a constant, it's like being a pediatrician now. And we have a lot of pediatricians in our family. Again, a pediatrician used to be a relationship-based business. My pediatrician knew what little league team I was on, what position I played. It was a good hour and a half visit when we went to go visit the pediatrician. Now, pediatricians on average have to see 250 clients a month or customers a month just to break even on their costs to make a decent living. It's ear, nose, throat, ear, nose, throat, ear, nose, throat all week long. It's about volume more than, the individual quality of each interaction, like the car buying experience used to be. So, I'm not saying have a soft spot for these guys or women, because they're doing just fine salary wise. But, the whole going in there with kind of a chip on your shoulder and treating them any less than you would any other person is something they unfortunately experience on a daily basis as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any other questions before we move on?
I just want to make a comment that I love that you're providing this service for those that are not comfortable going in and negotiating, even whether it's a good dealership or with like we said, 95% of the dealerships are. It's just some people are just not comfortable going in there to negotiate and talk about the purchase of their car. And you're really helping them out by representing them and going in and doing the negotiating for them. So I think that it's a great service that you're providing.
Oh, I appreciate it. And then Gilda said something at the beginning where, when I started this, a lot of people thought this was going to be a female kind of dominated business, where one stat that I didn't include, believe it or not, 78% of my clients are men. And when I tell that stat, most people are really taken aback, where this is for a lot of people, it's either, like you said, Terese, it's either they don't know enough to be effective, or they know enough, they just don't want to waste their time. I mean, on a beautiful 90-degree, sea bright Saturday, who the heck wants to go there on your own and sitting there for 5 or 6 hours knowing you're going to be trying to take advantage of you? The benefit of my clients is not only do you get a good price, the best price, not only do you not have to go into the dealership, but when you do to sign papers, all the paperwork is already printed, lined up, sign, and you're out in less than an hour in most instances. So my clients appreciate not only the money savings, but the time savings as well.
Right, exactly.
Tom, I have a question. It's Joanne. I know in recent years, a big development in the car buying process has been the notion of, like for instance, the Costco or Sam's Club or BJ's, car buying, no haggle prices and all of that. How does your success rate, or how does your process compare to that? Are those also mechanisms that you track to see, how you're able to beat those deals as well?
I do. I can, and I'm a very, you can tell by my slide, I'm a very metric kind of number oriented kind of geeky person. So my success rate against TrueCar, Costco, BJ's is 98% success rate that I'm able to beat their price. Now, they're awesome services for someone who doesn't have the time or the stomach and is a little, let's say, a little cheaper and doesn't want to hire somebody like me. You can take that Costco deal all day and know you got a very, very fair price. Same thing with BJ's. Same. Now, is it the best price? No. And in some instances, a lot of instances, I'll have a client get the Costco price and bring it to me, and I'm able to save them another few $1,000s in most instances. So, in that instance, yes, you would have left $4,000 on the table, but you're getting a good enough price where at least you're not being taken advantage of. But I just, a quick example, I just had a gentleman, he was in Michigan. He worked for Ford for 30 years, right? So after a certain threshold of working for a manufacturing company, you get a special code, a lifetime code. It's called like an A plan or a B plan or whatever. So he has his lifetime Ford code to buy cars. I was able to shatter his price by $2,700. So that doesn't seem that fair, right? That if you put in 30 years at a company, they're saying, no, you'll get the best price. He just said, knowing the car business, I don't think this is the best price I'm going to get. And he brought it to me. And again, $2,700 more for the $500 he paid me.
That's awesome.
So yes, Joanne, for people that don't want to be bothered with it, Costco and BJ's are awesome. TrueCar, not so much, but they're very good services. Is it the best price you're going to get? Not in a long shot.
Good to know. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to run through these next few slides kind of quick, and then I'm going to leave 5 minutes just to talk about the current state of things. So I mentioned this last time, but I added some more content around it. The number one, and maybe it's not a secret, but for a lot of people it is, research is the most important thing you can do before you purchase a car. It amazes me how many people will just, oh, you know what, I have to go run to ShopRite. Let me just run into the dealership and start looking around. The second you walk into a dealership kind of unarmed, uneducated, without having done any research, even without having made an appointment, forget it. You're dead in the water. I mean, I know people are so research driven now about so many other things about, where they're going to go on vacation, where they're sending the kid to school, what's the best oat milk to buy for their dog, whatever it may be. People will spend crazy amount of time doing research. And then when it comes to a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 purchase, they just wander in off the street. I never understood that. There's so many people that don't arm themselves. I mean, everybody has a computer. Everybody has Wi-Fi pretty much. Do the 30 to 45 minutes, or some people take it and do hours and hours of research, and arm yourself with the knowledge just like you would for anything else. Know what your credit score is. That's one of the most important things. I would say about 35% of my clients have no idea what their credit score is within 100 points. So I'll ask them, is your credit good? And they'll say, well, what's good? And I'll say, 710 or above. And they'll say, sure. And then they go to buy a car and it's like 580. And they have no idea whatsoever what their credit score is. Just like anything else in life, credit score is a very, very powerful tool when it comes to buying a car, new, especially pre-owned as well. And what I've given kind of seminars before on car buying and car selling. And the one, key takeaway I want people to realize is that you are in control. Don't ever let them take advantage of you. You're the one with the checkbook. You're the one with the bank account. You're the one who's buying the car. So they're not selling you a car. You're selling them your business. And it's a very kind of maybe a little dominant, egotistical way of looking at it. But if you look at it that way, again, they're there to earn your business, not the other way around. Unless you're looking at something that's so rare and so unique, and you have a one-of-one Ferrari or Maserati in front of you, if you're buying a Honda Civic, the world is your oyster. Within, we're very fortunate living in New Jersey or even in the tri-state area where, unlike the Midwest, we don't have to drive 80 miles between dealerships. Like I said before, you could think of 3 or 4 Honda dealerships within a 15-minute drive that you could go to today. So, don't ever think of it as, and they make you feel that way, like they're doing you a favor selling you their car. Another big secret that people don't know is there are hidden online treasures for dealerships. There are coupons that if you do digging, you will find, just like anywhere else. So, there's that big coupon that pops up that says, $500 off your best deal. Don't X off on that. Click that, print it out, take a picture of it. And that's very, very useful because then you can go in, you do your thing, you negotiate the price. And if you ever want to see smoke come out of a finance manager's head, just before you're about to sign on the dotted line, you whip that folded coupon out of your pocket and you say, look at this, read the fine print. It says $500 off your best deal. And then again, they will try to backtrack, but legally they can't if it says it in writing. So online coupons are really awesome when it comes to buying cars, especially new, because pretty much every dealership will have at a minimum 100, but as I've seen as high as $1,000 where, again, they'll try to tell you, oh, you should have presented this as part of the deal. But online coupons are really something that a lot of people leave a lot of money on the table. I use them as well. That's kind of my last dagger that I throw at a dealership. If I've negotiated what I know to be an awesome price, I'll pull out my folded online coupon as well and say, hey, listen, unfortunately, you're going to have to knock another $200 off this deal. And they'll throw up a big stink. But again, legally, they have to honor it. Two last quick things about the research. Again, never walk in without an appointment. You walking in without an appointment is just like, picking a heart surgeon out of a phone book. That's what I equated to. And then the last thing is avoid Saturdays at all costs. Why would you want to go into a dealership on their busiest day of the week? You're not going to get a better deal. Go on a rainy Monday, go on a snowstorm Tuesday, go on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. when they close at 7. Why would you compete with yourself and go in on the busiest selling day of the year? So again, avoid Saturdays, get an appointment, know your credit score, and check out online coupons. Any questions about the research?
Go ahead, Jackie.
Now, when I had to buy a car last year, I knew what my limit was. Do you recommend to somebody what car is the best car for that price in that price range?
No, they are not there to answer your questions. All of those questions should have been answered either on the phone ahead of time before you ever walked in.
No,
There's
I'm
a lot
for you that can we call you up and say, hey, what would you recommend?
Oh, of course. That's half of my day is answering. About half of my clients know exactly what they want down to the color of the stitching and the leather. The other 50%, I get calls, I have $499 a month to spend. I need a 3-row family SUV that I can stick my mom in the back when she visits twice a year from Arizona. What do you recommend? And then I can give my unbiased review. Again, I'm not tied to any one brand or make and model. I can tell you, this is pretty bad fuel economy. Stay away from this. This has a terrible crash rating. Stay away from this. And then I can recommend 3 cars. And then part of my service is I also set up those test drives for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
We have another question from Kathrine. Kathrine, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Tom, when you do your research, do you take into consideration what insurance company the prospect has to see if you could potentially help them with this new car and calculate the new insurance rate to, make the overall savings bigger for you and the customer?
I do not, but what I highly recommend is if you are on a very fixed budget and your overall auto spend for the month, say, is $500, right? I'm going to be responsible for getting you the lowest price on the car. If you're shopping around a Honda Civic, a Toyota Corolla, and a Subaru Impreza, what I will tell you is I'll have you proactively call your insurance company or your provider, somebody like Gilda can help, and then they can give you a kind of a ballpark quote. Okay, you live in Brooklyn, it's going to be parked on the street. A Subaru Impreza is going to be $36 cheaper a month because of the all-wheel drive. The Toyota Corolla has the best crash rating, so it's going to be $18 cheaper than the Honda. You can do all that research ahead of time with a simple phone call, so you can have kind of a ballpark idea of what your auto insurance is going to cost prior to going in.
So you put that on the prospects like hand. You don't help them or suggest like maybe you should go to a different company.
Correct. I don't recommend insurance providers. Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
You know, there are certain cars though that I just know inherently that people will not consider the price of car insurance. So for example, I just had a 22-year-old male. He was going to get a Subaru STI, which is a very heavily turbocharged horsepower, pretty much rally car for the streets. I told him his insurance was probably going to be anywhere between $3,000 and $4,500 for the year. And his jaw dropped because he had not even factored in another $300 a month for car insurance. But certain cars, non-luxury cars, will carry huge premiums because the amount of horsepower or lack of safety features that are in them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to deal with that sometimes when insureds don't even qualify for the car that they want to purchase because it doesn't fit the criteria of the company or dependent on their age or even the car itself. Like, I think we had a Urus the other day where it just couldn't find a market, so that was always fun.
Yeah, it's really amazing how many, and no disrespect to some parents, but how many parents buy their 16-year-old 450 horsepower rear wheel drive Mustangs in New Jersey. Like, number one, doesn't seem like a safe, really, car. Number two, the car insurance is going to be astronomical, knowing the likelihood is there's going to be a crash or at least some sort of incident within the first 6 months of a 17-year-old driving. It just baffles me. Any other questions on the research side?
What was that, Kathrine?
I appreciate the answer to the question. Thanks, Tom.
Sure. We have a hard stop at 1, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to blow through this pretty quickly because I want to get to the last slide. Again, financing terms. I mentioned this on the other perk call, but they are legally allowed in the United States to mark up your interest rate up to 2 points. Meaning, if you fill out the credit app and you know you have a great credit score, they can say, "Congratulations, Joanne, you've been approved for 3.8%, and you don't really care what the rate is because you're within your monthly budget." You could have realistically been approved for 2.6%, and they're legally allowed to pocket that other 1.2% off of your interest rate. So what I recommend to all my clients is get pre-approved through someone before you go into a dealership, unless they're offering 0% or 1.9% or some fixed sort of. Don't ever leave it up to the dealership to tell you what your interest rate is going to be. The third thing, trade-in value. Again, they're going to get you on either end or try to get you. They're either going to give you less for your trade and more savings on the new car, or they're going to give you a number so exorbitant on your trade that you're so happy and you lose focus on buying the new car. So what I do is, here's the little hint for this: do not even mention you have a trade until the other deal has been secured. So go in, negotiate, hopefully you've already negotiated the price online or on the phone. You're going in to pick up your Honda Civic, and then, oh, by the way, I have this trade, which they'll be a little cranky about, but oh well. And then so decouple the transaction. Think of them as two separate selling and buying propositions. You getting top dollar for your trade and you getting the most money off the new car is two separate things. And I'll send this presentation out, or it will be available if maybe I'll email this out to folks. But if you've ever seen this thing, you're already, unfortunately, behind the eight ball is not even the word. This is a sheet that most dealers still use. The first time I saw this, I almost threw up. It looks like an eye chart that I would never pass. All this sheet is used. It's called a Foursquare. All it is used for is to confuse you. They will do whatever they need to do to manipulate, the selling price here, your trade-in price, how much money you're putting down, how much you can spend per month. And this should be nice and clear. I mean, I like the boxes. And all of a sudden, all these other numbers come into play, and what should have been a very clear monthly payment has now been muddled by, everything else. So if you see this thing, walk away and call somebody who knows much more about it than you do, because you're going to get taken. Last secret revealed, the add-ons. So if you've already done a good price, you have a good interest rate, you've negotiated a great price, you got a great price for your trade, hopefully you never saw this thing. Here's where a lot of people, where it goes downhill. Everything up until this point has been done with the salesperson. Here is where you're sitting with the finance manager. This is where the finance manager will say, well, you're getting a new car. Of course you need tire and wheel insurance, $68 a month more. You live down in Seabright where the salt air is the worst it's ever been in the last 20 years. You need a special powder coating, an extra $121. I see that you like to go to plays and theater in New York and Newark, New Jersey. What if your car is stolen? Window etching, another $100. These things can quickly add up. I've seen it before. All of the great work you did to save money on a car is gone in a matter of 10 minutes if you're not aware of what all these things are and what you need and what you don't need. Now, some of it is very beneficial. If you're driving a Cadillac Escalade with 23-inch rims and you live in Brooklyn, the likelihood is you're going to blow a tire probably once a month. So get the tire and wheel insurance. But this is something that, again, can all be researched online prior to ever going into the dealership. And if you don't do that and hire me, this is all the stuff that I can negotiate on your behalf as well. If, you and I discuss it and we're interested in any of this. Now, I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'm going to leave 3 more minutes for questions. So all these slides were, forget about pre-COVID. These were pre-6 weeks ago. This is the current state of affairs. And this is really important. So if you're talking to friends and family, you can let them know. There is the biggest shortage of cars in the US in the last 30 years right now, both new and pre-owned. And there's a bunch of reasons for it. There's a chip shortage. There were 2 factories in China that burned to the ground, then also were affected by COVID. I equated to, think of 1 million Dell computers sitting in a warehouse with no motherboard. That is pretty much the state of cars in the US right now. Ford, GM, Mercedes, BMW, a bunch of people are affected by this. There are 1.5 million and 5 million fewer vehicles this year produced than the original year prior to 2020. This was actually interesting to me, a huge water shortage in Taiwan because of no typhoons and rainfall. They're actually producing cars at half their normal rate because of the lack of water for factories and things like that. There's a 10% increase in used vehicle prices right now, and that is rising. If you take a look at 20-year-old minivans right now, you would be appalled what they're asking online. 10%, again, I created these slides a few days ago. I think that's probably up to 12 or 13% more. So you're going to pay a premium to buy a used car right now. But on the other hand, if you don't need to buy and you're just looking to sell, you can get 10 to 15% more for that junky old used car that's sitting around in your driveway. I would recommend Carvana or Vroom. I don't think I've seen less than 8% more than what a car, over what your car is worth in the last 3 or 4 weeks. A big reason for this is, people have a lot of cash that they haven't had before, stimulus checks, tax refunds. People bought 1.5 million cars last month, and that is the highest rate since 2005. There's a feeding frenzy on new and pre-owned cars right now. And then this is really, really telling. Discounts, 25% less than they were a year ago. So with all that being said, this is a pretty awful time to buy a car. doing it on your own, even more daunting. Hiring someone like me, I've had to really adjust my expectations. Again, a year ago, I would be able to get 7,000 or 8,000 off a Ford Explorer. We're lucky right now if I can get 2,000 or 3,000 off a Ford Explorer. So what I'm telling my clients is, if you need to get a car, do it in the next 2 to 3 weeks, or wait until the late fall when everything settles out. Do not buy in June, July, or August or September unless you absolutely have to. What other questions can I answer? If we don't get to all the questions, this is my personal cell, my email. I'm all over social media. You can feel free to reach out to me anytime. But any other questions?
Nobody else? Well, all right. Well, Tom, thank you so much. You were answering all their questions along the way, which was nice. If there are no final questions, any comments or anything before we go? Go ahead, Gilda.
Thank you for the little bit endorsement you just gave me before.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And yes, if there's any way I can assist you with those insurance type questions, and if Kathrine is here, I'm not sure I want to bring you in for what I'm going to say. What people don't realize is what's expensive on a new car insurance is the physical damage. Even though they're unibody and all of these things, if you get into an accident and it's happened to me with my car, somebody hit my bumper and the whole car had to go in the body shop. They had to redo the whole thing. You can't bring it to the garage for the guy to punch it out. That's why insurance, auto insurance is that. The geographic area you live in has a great deal to do with the limit of liability. I used to live in Lincroft. The part of Lincroft I lived in, auto insurance was less expensive than people who lived near Lincroft Center, where there's a high volume of traffic. This is what people don't understand. And with all due respect, and I'm sure Kathrine sees what I see, television tells you what they can do. And I made this comment this morning in another meeting. Television is Hollywood. It's not real life. It's not. So those are things, and I feel sorry for you to be put in that kind of a position, and often I'm the bad guy because of what I just said. But that's what I have. I can't just give you something because I like you. I got to, unfortunately, both you and I have got to follow those rules, and do what we have to do so it works well, not just that we give somebody something cheap. So thank you for all you've done today.
Sure. Thanks for listening.
All right. All right. And with that, thank you very much for joining us today with Tom from Car Concierge Plus. Thank you for your insight and all your secret tips. And we will see everyone at the next Zoom meeting, this Friday at the Perk. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.